Hello, my name is Michael Nolan, and I'm president of the Edgerton Model Railroad Club. We're the third club to take care of these layouts. The layouts were started in 1950 when Governor Thomas E. Dewey came down and drove the golden spike, okay? And it's been operating ever since that time. There's four layouts: summer, fall, winter, spring. It is the traditional Lionel, what they sometimes refer to as 027, okay? And we've done a lot of work because we had to rewire the whole place. We had to put a brand new floor in, paint, and take those control panels and get them all coded, synchronized, in color, because there's like 20 different colors. Oh, and if anything went bad, they say, "What wire is this?" Well, I don't know. So that took over 10,000 feet of wire. There is no public money in this. It's all by donations of people visiting. And obviously, we're all volunteers. And so welcome. Come down and visit us. Do visit us on our website. It's all one great big word: Edgerton Model Railroad Club.com. We got videos on there. We got a history of it on there.
Yeah, as I was saying, like, I remember coming here when I was I came here a couple times when I was like 7 or 8 with Cub Scouts, and I just thought this was the first big layout that I'd ever seen where there was like so much stuff going on, and there was some interactive stuff back then too. But that's something that I think is really unique compared to a lot of other layouts. Having all the buttons and stuff for kids to touch and interact with really lures them in.
We have 42 buttons.
Wow.
Besides, they push the parents' buttons. No. Having interaction, we want. And so there's 42 buttons. This one has 9, winter. The only one that has more is spring, because they have this control panel with 6 different animal sound buttons the kids like to hear, and they can push and find and find in the background.
Yeah, I did see that. They had like the cows, the pigs, the horses. That was really cute.
Yeah. The other thing, when we visit train shows, we have a special layout, but it's not this high. It's down lower, so the kids can stand there and see it eye level, and it has buttons too, so that they can push.
Nice.
Yeah.
You were mentioning something about the trains in the display case behind me before.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Those are one of a kind. He was a jeweler in his career. He grew up in Fairport, moved to Chicago, and he made all those by hand.
Oh, wow.
This was in the 1930s. There was no 2-rail at that point. It was 3-rail like this is. And you can take a look at them. They're incredible. I mean, and he knew how to do the brass. He got the pictures, made the locomotives. That one up there weighs about 10 pounds.
Wow.
That long one. And then he sealed them in lacquer, so you'll notice they haven't oxidized at all.
Oh, that's cool. What years did he make those?
1930s to about the mid-40s, and his family wrote a nice little story of his life. He moved back to Fairport after he retired, then passed away. They didn't know what to do with them because there's no way to run them. There's no 2-rail
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. But he wanted 2-rail because it was more realistic.
Yeah, and I noticed that a lot of those are really realistic compared to they were more toys at that time, the model railroad cars and trains. And I think they're beautiful, but they just don't have the same realism as the things today. So it seemed like that's something he was definitely trying to capture there.
Yeah, he really captured it, and the detail was incredible. And some of his clients, as a jeweler now, not in model railroading, but as a jeweler, were Al Capone, Frank Lloyd Wright, and Oscar Mayer. They all lived out in Chicago, and they came in and would get jewelry from him. But you can tell his skills just to put those together. It's like, what? And some of the boxcars must have 800 pieces of wood glued.
Wow. Yeah, it must have taken some time.
Yeah. But then they didn't know what to do with him. I said, will you write his life up for us, his biography, and we'll post it there. We'll get a nice layout. That is true scale all up there.
So you said you have been involved with a club for 12 years. How long have you been model railroading in general, and what got you started with it?
Well, I had the old Mark set because my mom and dad didn't have much money. They couldn't afford iron. And then what happened was, in the 80s, somehow I got hooked again. and I started in, and I built a little N scale layout first to learn ballasting, track lane, reverse looping, and so on. Okay, and then I went downstairs and I started with summer, went to fall, went to winter, went to spring. It was featured in an NMRA, National Model Railroad Association, open house. And my spring, I didn't know it at the time, but I was sort of came to a conclusion that a great model railroader named John Allen did. And my spring has 7.5 foot high mountains, floor to ceiling. So you walk into this U-shaped layout and you're surrounded 320 degrees by trains.
Wow.
And it's very realistic that like as if you're right in the middle of this little room.
That's cool. Well, I'm really impressed with all the stuff here, and I do notice a lot of changes since when I was coming. So
Yeah.
it seems like you're all are still active in building and modifying stuff, and not just running trains. Which it's fun running the trains, but it's also fun building the stuff too. But I definitely noticed some things that I even remember from 30 plus years ago, like the little sea breeze section of the. I think it was the summer.
On
layout,
summer,
and-
yeah.
yeah. So there are things, the sort of nostalgia factor that I remember as a kid, and I always loved the winter layout because it was dark, and I liked the snow. And at that time, it had way more lights than all the other sections of the layout. So
Right.
I really like that part of it. But yeah, how many people do you usually have at these open houses?
They can vary anywhere from 90, and if we get crazy, over 300.
Wow, yeah, that would be crowded.
Yeah.
I also like how when you enter the layout room, it's modeled after sort of a New York Central, the old passenger cars. So
Yeah,
that's
it's the
pretty
same
awesome.
Yeah. And it's the same color. And that sign that says PAL Model Railroad Heaven is 75 years old, neon, and still working.
Wow,
Believe
you
it or
never
not.
you shut that off at night, or
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
We
okay.
close everything down at night. PAL stands for the Police Athletic League. And they were first founded this to get to know the kids that were coming back after World War II. That's why it opened 75 years ago in 1950. Then I think it was in the 60s, it went to the Bureau of Recreation, and then there were two different clubs before us. We're the third club to come in, but we've rewired the whole thing. There's all LED lights on the room, LED lights on the layouts themselves, brand new floor. I found a group in Texas that makes flooring for Piper Cub airplane hangars. And
Oh.
the Piper Cubs can run over this and not hurt it. And I said, oh, that'll be good for ours. The floor under this is about 150 years old. Nothing will stick to it because there's too much wax, too much other paint on it. So we were frustrated because it looked awful. This looks beautiful now. And we had a great donor who donated $6,000 for us to buy the stuff from them, the flooring, and then we installed it and put the oak molding around the bottom and so on. It's been beautiful. It's been in 6 years, no problem. But we've restored the whole place.
nice.
Yeah.
Do these trains, these O gauge trains, they run on AC or DC?
These are running on AC.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I seem to remember. I'm used to the stuff that I have, the HO and LGB and N scale is all DC. So I thought with the third rail it was a little different or something. So.
Well, the other thing is too that now, if you want to go DCC, digital command control, it is AC, and it's a constant voltage, 15 volts. Those tracks are live all the time. And what varies it is when you use the radio control, a little LED, a little circuit in there says, okay, give it 10%, give it 20% as you dial it. Yeah, so actually now we've got some layouts that run on both AC and diesel. Because my home layout, summer and fall and winter, run on traditional variable DC. I then put in NCE, which is great because it's local. It's made right out in Rochester, New York. I put the DCC in. Now that one runs on AC, constant voltage, and we have the handheld control because it goes through mountain 7.5 feet high.
So at home you have a layout through the seasons as well?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And in my front yard, I have a G scale layout. And I build an N scale, a Z scale.
Yep.
I can put the locomotive on my finger. And that one, what happens is that it's pretty amazing because he travels and he wanted to take his trains with him. And I said, okay, I build it. But I said to him, look, I got it running on 9 volt. Never, never, never go through a checkpoint with a briefcase with a battery in it, or you're set off every alarm to Rochester to California.
Right.
I said, buy the 9 volt when we get there. And then, and so I worked in that, and I also have, as I said, the first one I built was a little module in N, and I learned how to ballast and reverse loop, wiring and track and so I still have all of those made.
Yeah, I mean, I love model railroading growing up, and it's something that I feel like is sort of cyclical, where you do it a lot for a while and then maybe take a break, and then years down the road you come back to it. But as a kid, I really learned so many skills from, yeah, any sort of fine motor skill, doing detailed painting or gluing your fingers together and learning from that, and bonding experiences with your father and grandfather. It's like a generational sort of activity, and you learn some carpentry and electrical stuff, and I learned how to solder and everything. It's some of that translates to what I do now in my adult life. I definitely still tinker and build things, and it's just as far as I'm concerned, a great all-around hobby, and I feel like there's something for everyone in that hobby.
And then you also learn history. If you want to go prototypical, you learn the history of an area, the industries, the housing, the way the trains move, and then you can run an operating session. My layout at home, called the Clifton and Diablo Railroad, it's totally out of my imagination. So I'm what they call a freelance. In summer, there's the amusement park, because I live down near Seabee's amusement park down there. And it's things like the Fallsdale has a great big fall, waterfall. And then Mount Blanc has skiing, that's winter. And then Diablo and Para Diablo, that's the floor to ceiling mountains. And they do oil, and they do ore, and they do some mining in work. And they all connect, but you have to have a good operating crew with you. Because they're say, "We're coming over, get your train off it."
So the layouts here, they're set in what era?
1950, actually,
Okay.
although we've updated that a little bit. McDonald's is in 1950. But we modernized it, but they were made in 1950 in the Oakleys. Yeah, cool. And if you go and look at the backdrop on summer, it's the landscape of Rochester. The skyscraper, but there's no Xerox. There's none of those things that came later because they weren't there anymore.
Right.
And you look fall, you'll see, what's that little town? Oh, there's Henrietta. There weren't any suburban houses in Henrietta in 1950. Then you look at what's that airfield? That's the Ray Highland Airfield. Ray Highland was a World War II pilot, came back and instructed others how to be pilots. That was an airfield, the Highland Airfield. Now all that's left is Highland Drive, named after him, and of course Marketplace Mall.
The backdrop that was painted to look like the Rochester skyline, is that original? You guys have never had to touch that up?
They were done in 1950 by the Rochester Art Club and some students from RIT. My only response, I wish they signed it on the back of them so we know who did it. Because there were some very famous artists that grew up in Rochester that went to RIT at that time, but we can't prove they painted them because they got signed and we were on the ground. But we did have them 3 years ago, clean. We brought in the professional artists, we didn't change it, we sanitized them. Because after 70 years,
Sure.
they just get dusty and dirty.
Sure.
There were 2 or 3 rips, he repaired those. You can't tell where he touched it. But we kept it, that part, we kept original, all the same.
Great. Well, thanks for your time. I appreciate you letting me interview you. And you said your name was Mike?
Well, Mike Nolan, yeah?
Nice. I'm also Mike. So thanks a lot.
We got 2 mics. All right, thank you.
So you were saying that this company is in North Rose?
Yeah, the company's in North Rose, which is about an hour east of Rochester, out Route 104. And they make this really nice looking track. Comes in 3-foot sections, wooden ties. If it's 3-rail, they make the center rail dark so it looks a little bit more realistic. They call that the phantom rail. But they make 2-rail O gauge. They make S gauge, American Flyer, G gauge, which is the larger outdoor stuff people put in the garden and so on. Crossover switches and etc.
When did you guys make the switch over from the old track to this newer variety? Do you know?
Oh, this was probably 15 or 20 years ago.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's been a while. Cool.
Hi, I'm Bill Lau, and this is the fall layout that we're looking at here. And what I've done here over the course of, it's got to be around 13 years I've been a member here now. And I have installed LED lights to replace virtually all the light bulbs on this layout. And it started small with one vehicle, and then I saw that the others looked drab in comparison to it. I learned how to do it by doing that first vehicle. I had no idea how to do it before that. So it grew as Topsy did, and now, last count, I got somewhere close to 900 LEDs on this layout.
Wow.
It is so many that I had to come up with a better power supply in 12-volt DC, because that adds up to about 16 amps of LEDs. A little more than that, 18 actually. So it's powered by a power supply out of a desktop computer, believe it or not, because that puts out a perfect 12-volt line. It has a great circuit breaker, and it's 22 amps. But it's been a great thing. People love it, and I love it. I love the way they look when they're done. I sometimes don't like it that much while I'm doing it, but when they're done, it's worth every moment.
Yeah, I like all the LEDs and the lights. That definitely has added a lot to the layout. That's something that when I came in the mid to late 80s, it was lacking that. But back then, it was all incandescent lights, and there might have been a bulb here and there, like in some of the search towers or something like that. Maybe some light up buildings in the winter layout, but other than that, there was nothing like it is today. So
They estimate that a light bulb in the typical train layout will last about 750 hours. An LED on the typical layout easily will last, sit down please, 100,000 hours or plus.
nice. Yeah, so you don't have to replace those.
They
now.
simply don't burn out.
For sure. Cool. Well, thanks a lot, Bill.
Sure.
I enjoyed you running the trains today, and thanks for having this public open house.
So far I haven't broken anything. We only got a little time to go. Let's hope that keeps going.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you.